You probably watched a video or read a comment that made you go, wow, this guy really doesn't know what he's talking about. Maybe you even thought this after watching some of my videos. While it's funny to see someone so confident yet so wrong, it isn't going to be funny if a genuinely shitty take becomes the mainstream truth. And this is exactly what is happening right now as you are watching this video. Someone, somewhere, is dropping another stinky take, repeating a point he heard somewhere else without ever doing even the most surface level research. This is exactly the mechanism throwing us back into a totalitarian meat grinder. So let me show you how it works and why you should actually care about it. So step one is to normalize. Someone with a platform says the unthinkable thing many times until it stops sounding unthinkable. So no actual argument is required, just the repetition and a platform. And step two is where the magic happens. Once an idea feels normal enough to defend, someone in the comments shows up, picks some numbers, some facts. They might be cherry picked, they might be taken completely out of context, but numbers are the same. So that's how you go from you gotta be pretty stupid to like Stalin to a bunch of people in my comment section telling me what a great guy he was. He was just a victim of enemies from within, enemies from outside. Take, for example, people like Nick Fuentes, who are like streaming every day, who get to repeat the same takes across thousands of streams. And that's that point, Nick Fuentes is in the mainstream, and other people like him, Candace Owens or Tucker. And on the other side of the spectrum, you got Hassan, openly sympathetic to Stalinism, streaming for hours every day to an audience that treats him as a primary source in history and world news. But if you fact check him, he will quickly admit that he's not a historian and never claimed to be one. But the problem is that it doesn't matter anymore because your audience definitely treats you as one. This is the defense that they apply preemptively because it's all a vibe, bro. You can't fact check a vibe. It's just a vibe. We have no responsibility for how this turns out. We just say things. At this point, you can see that the mechanism, it's not even presenting the evidence that Stalin was a great guy, but it's more like, oh, look at this Turkish guy that I love, this Giga Chad with a beard that I like and I trust. He treats this man as someone cool, amazing, so I should be doing the same thing. Now it's treated as a given because enough people feel more comfortable voicing that idea out, expressing that idea, maybe even acting upon that idea. But normalization alone doesn't build a worldview. Now they're comfortable with this idea, this whole narrative. They start presenting some facts, some statistics that favor this idea built in their heads. They don't just tolerate atrocities, they justify them directly. So here's a random guy under my Stalin video arguing with me, clearly thinking he's cooking. So let's actually look what he got in the pod. Allegedly, USSR lifted millions out of the agrarian system. What actually happened is that they didn't just move them from their shitty shack into a nice one-bedroom condo. This wasn't quite like that. They just moved kind of from their own farms to factories that were similarly shit. So they went from shitty conditions in their own farms, in their own villages, wherever they lived. They moved from that to shitty conditions in factories. And another fun fact about the collectivization that you are now praising, it has a body count of around 5 million people. I don't understand this whole argument. If we know for a fact that this system took so many lives, it's just horrible, dishonest thing to support it. And then he says something about USSR became the second largest superpower. Okay, so where is it now? Can I ask that question? Can you show me on the map where USSR is? I just really don't understand the point of the argument. We were powerful 100 years ago. You don't exist today, so there's a reason why this whole thing never became socialist. A and B came to its logical conclusion. Next point, USSR doubled life expectancy. Okay, so the Mexico, India, Brazil, Egypt, Indonesia, like all these places increased their life expectancy, doubled it everywhere in the 20th century because of antibiotics, because of vaccines, public health infrastructure. It wasn't due to central planning. It wasn't due to Stalin's brilliant management. If anything, the Second World War is a direct proof of Stalin's horrible management skills. There are many accounts of how Stalin was just freaking out, absolutely losing his shit. The problem, what I find with this, is that people spreading false narratives about totalitarian dumpsters like the Soviet Union aren't just the edgelords or aren't just the naive people who fell for communist propaganda. I even understand if they genuinely believe in the main maxims that Marxists preach. Fine. But somewhere along the way, they got convinced that the USSR was an actual attempt at creating this Marxist ideal. But we know that it was a machine that treated human beings as a resource, as a material. They killed millions of workers, of peasants, in the names of workers and peasants. And that isn't an accidental confusion, because the propagandists want you to feel comfortable with the idea of dictatorship, because a population that's comfortable with dictatorship is a population that gets one. The propagandists don't need everyone to be a true follower, to a true believer. We just need enough people to repeat the line until it sounds like a common sense. But it's not really only my comment section where you can find people like this. For example, in Germany, for the first time since Nazis, as I understand, a far-right party won a state election. In Austria, a political party founded by literal Nazis was invited to form a government. Basically, a whole bunch of crazy shit happening all across Europe. And in short, how I see it, it's just the radicals everywhere in the world right now being normalized. What they really need to do is happening for them. Let people destroy themselves by engaging in this cringe revisionism, where USSR is a perfect dreamland state, perfect communism, and Stalin is a great guy, or this alternative world of neo-Nazism, where hating particular ethnical groups is cool just because they're different. It's just all so cringe. It's definitely on the rise right now. Far-right appearing now as a response for a far-left idea domination for quite a while now. If you want to have a real discussion, you don't approach people with hatred. In my mind, you try to have a conversation, and I genuinely had conversations with people in the comments, and I felt like while we disagreed, we still agreed that the fact that the conversation is there, the discussion is there, is in itself beautiful, important, and amazing. And it's beautiful to live in a world where you can share your opinion and not be sent to a gulag, which was the reality for a lot of people in the Soviet Union. You could literally go to a gulag for an anecdote, for a political joke. The bottom line, as I see it, is that we must continue reminding people how terrifying the communist experience was for people. We must keep exposing the truth because it's our only way to fight in this war of propaganda.